Hello, good day. This is Julian C. Cassie, your discussant on responding to students' writing. Have you ever had the experience of a student crying, yelling, or even arguing after handing back a graded essay? Or have you ever personally felt being wronged by your college professor or a teacher on an essay which left you feeling 1 inch tall? Well, you know, responding to students' writing is very challenging. You know why? Because writing is vulnerable. People have a connection to the words they put on paper. That's why if you are wondering on how to give students the feedback or on how to respond to students in an effective manner, well, this video is for you. I'm going to give you 5 effective tips. And the first one is narrow the focus and ask questions instead of making statements. When responding to writing, we need to think about what we really want our students to know. We can't comment everything because students won't learn all the things like we hope they will. Instead, we can provide fewer comments that are meaningful suggestions in words in a way that are sensitive to students' perception. Like, for example, if a student's essay is full of spelling errors, it's not necessary to circle everything, although it may be tempting to do so. Why not just write, please check spelling throughout the essay, or please ask a parent to help you spell check? And these comments are more positive and seem like less of a Sisyphean task. And also asking questions instead of making statements, because research shows that asking questions is more beneficial to learning than making statements. Questions push people to figure out answers on their own, and that is why. Second is to use a one-to-one ratio with conferring students on their writing. This will be more receptive to constructive feedback when it is balanced with praise. It should be given one on one, and also it should begin with a positive response. Okay, so the third is to just read and keep your feedback on time. Fourth is for you to be specific and ask students to reflect on their writings. And fifth, help them understand themselves. To end my discussion, I'd like to leave you with this quote by Viktor E. Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And that's all. I thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Mariani M. Elaran. In this video, I am going to share to you the ways of correcting students' work. So the question is, why it is important to correct students' work or errors? It shows that they're learning and trying things out with the language, all of which puts them on the road to success. Of course, as a teacher, it is our job to make sure that errors don't get stuck into place. The most important thing for you as their teacher is to correct your students' errors effectively and sensitively. Only then can help them grow and develop their newly acquired language skills at their own pace and in comfortable and safe environment. We have ways of correcting our students' work. First, we have selective correction. In selective correction, we do not have to correct everything, meaning we could only correct verb tenses or only punctuation. Our focus is instead exclusively of word order. We might only correct here the paragraph organization or the use of appropriate levels of formality. We might only correct also 2 of the paragraph in the student's work, only or highlight mistakes in the layout of their work. Next, we have using correction symbols. Here, many teachers use correction symbols to avoid abundance of red ink. This also have the advantage of encouraging students to think what the mistakes is so that they can correct it themselves. So here are symbols that are frequently used. We have S for spelling error, WO for word order, G for grammar, T for tenses, WW for wrong word. As a teacher, we can write the symbols above or next to the place in the student's writing where the problems occurs. The third one, we have reformulation. In reformulation, this is a way of showing students how they could write something more correctly. Instead of asking them to find the mistakes and correct it, we as their teacher, we should show how we could write the incorrect sentence. Through this reformulation, the students then learns of comparing correct and incorrect versions of their work. We also have referring students to a dictionary or grammar book. For me, this is very effective when I correct my students' work, especially if I will give them composition and reflection. Yes, as a teacher, we can suggest that to our students to consult grammar or dictionary book if they are having tenses problem, grammar problem, or word order problem. The advantages of referring students to dictionary or grammar book in this way that encourage them to look at the information with a purpose in their mind. They will learn as they correct their work. Aside from that, they will learn more vocabulary words to dictionary or grammar book. So this is a very effective ways of correcting students' work. Next, we have Ask Me. Sometimes, as a teacher, it is difficult to us to explain the mistakes on paper, or it is impossible to understand exactly what it was the students wanted to write. So, in that case, we asked our students to talk to them so that they can sort out the problem face to face. Last one, we have remedial teaching. When teachers read students' written work and they come up across mistakes which many students in the same class are making. Of course, remedial teaching will then be necessary. Remedial teaching is important because it's aimed to improve the skills or ability of every student and also uses of various techniques. Teachers have solved the problem for students understand their learning difficulties. It creates an educational process for students to learn fun. Remedial teaching methods are focused on the specific concept that understands the students.
Good day. Many students place high importance on correction and get uneasy when given other criticism. As a teacher, we respond to written work of our students as an assistant or a guide, rather than as an evaluator or judge. Responding to students' work is about reacting to their ideas and how they put them across. In responding to students' work, teachers are not only concerned with the accuracy of the performance, but we are also concerned with the content and design of the writing of students. Here are the ways of responding to students' work. First, responding to work in progress. When teachers give a writing task to students, we often visit their chairs and ask them about what they are writing. Or sometimes we give advice and make suggestions in some information they made, responding by written. Our response here is delivered in written form. The students hand us a draft of what they are writing. So what we do is we write down all the necessary comments that we think is good for the writing. This approach helps them to avoid mistakes in their final writing. The third is post-task statements. The feedback was done after the writing sequence, where we give final comments to the writing. This approach encouraged the students to write about how I can improve in future writing at the end of the assignment. The fourth is tape comments. We record our comments on tape provided by the students. This approach has a benefit of enabling comments to be more detailed, and it allows rapid feedback. The last is electronic comments. We can send feedback or comments via email, Facebook, Twitter, or any social media platform. Those approaches will surely help students to improve their writing, but we should be careful in giving advice and making suggestions. So, when we are commenting to students' work, we should ask them this question like, why have you done it this way? Or what do you want the reader understand here? For them to come up with their own decisions about editing and revising. That's all. Thank you.
Alright, so we're on chapter 7 under the teaching of writing in English. And this time I'll be talking about peer review. Okay. As we move on, we have here the following objectives. So number 1 is provide structured learning process for students to critique and provide feedback to each other's work. Second, help students develop lifelong skills in assessing and providing feedback to others. Then third is equip students with skills to self-assess and improve their own work. Okay. When I say peer review, it is a valuable element in the writing process. It is a type of evaluative feedback. It focuses on the strengths and areas of improvement. This form of evaluation can benefit all parties involved. So we're talking about the students here, the work of the students. So helping to build self-awareness and grow in new ways. Why grow in new ways? Because they learn from the corrections, from the suggestions that might be given by their, or that will be given by their partner or peers. So what are the benefits, or why do we use peer review? Okay, it is said that peer assessment or review can improve overall learning. By what? By helping students become better readers. Why better readers? Of course, because we give them a chance to read, to analyze the work of their classmates. So, for example, we gave an activity, let's say an essay writing. So they read first before they can give suggestions or make corrections to their classmates' work. Better writers, yes, of course, they write their own work, and at the same time they write their suggestions. And better collaborators, yes, of course, because they work with their peers, they collaborate. Okay. A well-designed peer review program also develops students' evaluation and assessment skills. So that is our primary goal here, to let students develop their evaluation and assessment skills. So how do they assess the work of their classmates? How do they analyze? So yes. Okay. Okay, another reason why do we use peer review, it is non-threatening. Yes, and beneficial to learning as students receive suggestions from their peers about how to improve their work. So it's good that we're giving them a chance to, yes, to suggest something, corrections about their classmates' work. So that's according to Wood and Kurzell 2008. So thus there are benefits in encouraging students to review each other's work. Okay, that's according to Wessa and De Riker 2010. Another, the reviewer gets another viewpoint on how to enhance his or her work. So it's good sometimes that they will hear the corrections from their classmates, not just from us teachers. Okay? And the reviewer benefits from having to analyze the work of a peer. Alright? Okay, so we have here quick keys to successful peer review. Number 1, the first one is identify and teach the skills needed for peer review. Of course, we will not just give them activity without telling them what to do. We should have to remind them to respond or encourage them to respond as a peer, not as a teacher. Because not all the corrections that a partner would suggest are not correct. So teacher should what? Yes. So there should be a reinforcement from teacher. So next is present peer review as an opportunity for students to receive extensive feedback on their work. So that's our goal, right? So explicitly link peer review with the course learning outcomes. So yes, it should be aligned with the activity should be aligned with our target learning outcomes. During and after peer review sessions naman, so we have listened to group discussions and provide guidance and input when necessary. Of course, we teachers should reinforce. We make reinforcement because not all the things or not all the corrections from their peers, from their classmates are correct. So we have to make things right, or let's correct them right away. If there is something that makes the correction not good, or so yes, and consider requiring students to write a plan for revision. Of course, after the correction, there can be a revision. So that's it for peer review. Okay, hope you learned something from this discussion. So I have prepared questions that you may answer. So you can answer it for your own. Number one, do you find peer review activity effective for better learning, particularly in writing English? Second one, when do you use peer review? Give examples of classroom activities. So where you can use peer review. Then what are the problems you think that a teacher may encounter in letting students do a peer review? So that's it. So these are my references for this discussion. You may check the references also. So thank you.
Good day everyone. I am going to discuss about making homework successful. Since we are all teachers, we usually expect that the homework we give to our students to be successful. But how can we make sure that our homework given are successful? But first, allow me to define homework. What is homework? Homework is a set of tasks assigned to students by their teachers to be completed outside the classroom. Of course, teachers, we are all aware that the homework should be made at home or in the library. Next, homework is often seen as a rather unglamorous chore despite its obvious benefits. When we say unglamorous chore, students are not interested in. And it is often less successful than it should be, partly because of the tasks that are set and also because of the attitude of both teachers and students. Now, let's discuss about overcoming some various problems and homework issues. Why homework? Of course, teachers are already aware why they need to give a homework to their students because that is a part of learning process. But since the students or the learners has no idea, the teachers should explain to the students the accomplishing homework. It is a time for them to study on their own and put into practice things they have seen and learned in the class. That is the importance, okay? Second one, make them realize that the homework helps them to remember things and to work out language and construction problems that have been puzzling them. And in the part of the teacher, it helps us understand how well they are doing. And of course, it is to make plan for future teaching. The third one, homework load. Students must do and prioritize making their homework in any circumstances because there is no point in setting homework that the students won't or can't do because of their other commitments. Whether they like it or not, they should make a homework. Especially in a school or in a university setting where English is just one of the many subjects fighting for the students' attention. And it is important to find out how much homework all the different teachers expect, and they get agreement from the students about how English can fit into their program. Where students have other calls on their time, we need to discuss how much time they can realistically spend on homework. And this does not mean that the students should lay down the law on this subject, only that without their cooperation and agreement, homework will never be successful. Next, appropriate homework task. Students will be convinced of the value of doing homework if the tasks are seen to be appropriate, right? Or rather, if the students can see the point of doing the task. So the teacher should always be reminded in making a homework or in assigning a homework to their students to make sure that the homework is appropriate with the lesson that you've tackled. A teacher also should make value or importance of giving of clear direction in giving students homework. Next, explain the making criteria. Teachers must explain the criterion for the given homework for students to be motivated in making assignments. Next, it will help students if they know what the marking criteria for the homework are going to be, since students are very competitive. Last, punctuality or even-handedness. Teachers should force students to hand in homework.